The voicemail waiting light blinked red on Maya's phone, and when she finally listened to the message, a voice she didn't recognize whispered with barely contained rage, "You forgot last year, Maya, but we didn't forget you." Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into tonight's absolutely chilling story, I want to know where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your location in the comments. And listen, if you make it through this entire tale without getting goosebumps, you're braver than I am. This one's going to mess with your head in ways you won't expect. Go ahead and smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button hard and ring that notification bell because we deliver spine-tingling horror stories every single week. That'll make you check your phone twice before listening to voicemails. I'm warning you right now, this story is about memory, guilt, and the terrible price of forgetting. You might want to check your own voicemails after this one. Now settle in, maybe turn up the volume, and whatever you do, stick around until the very end, because the twist will leave you absolutely speechless. Let's get into this nightmare. Maya Chen stood in her Seattle apartment, staring at her phone like it was a venomous snake. One new voicemail. Received at 3:47 a.m. She'd been asleep at 3:47 a.m. Her phone had been on silent, charging on her nightstand. She hadn't heard it ring, but someone had called, and someone had left a message. Maya's finger hovered over the play button. It was November 20th. Thanksgiving was in 3 days, and she had a million things to do. She was hosting dinner this year for the first time in her 31 years of life. Her parents were coming, her sister Rebecca, and her family. Even her grandmother, who rarely left her retirement home in Spokane. She didn't have time for whatever telemarketer or robocall had decided to bother her at 3:47 inches the morning. But something made her press play. The voice that emerged from her phone's speaker was wrong from the first syllable. It was distorted, layered, as if multiple people were speaking in imperfect unison, and it was angry, so angry that Maya could feel the rage vibrating through the words. "You forgot last year, Maya. But we didn't forget you. We waited. We watched. And now it's time for you to remember. Thanksgiving is coming, Maya. And so are we." The message ended with a click that sounded far too much like a door closing. Maya's hands were shaking. She played the message again. Same words. Same terrible, layered voice. Same click. She checked the caller ID. Unknown number. "Of course. Prank call," she said aloud, trying to convince herself. Just some asshole with nothing better to do. But her voice sounded thin and unconvincing in the silence of her apartment. Maya set her phone down on the kitchen counter and tried to focus on her to-do list. She had grocery shopping to finish, cleaning to do, recipes to review. Her mother had very specific ideas about how Thanksgiving should be done, and Maya was determined to prove she could handle it, but she couldn't stop thinking about the message. "You forgot last year. What had happened last year?" Maya mentally retraced her steps. Thanksgiving 2024. She'd gone to her parents' house in Bellevue, like she always did. Turkey, mashed potatoes. The usual family drama when Rebecca's husband Gary had too much wine and started talking politics. Nothing unusual. Nothing memorable. Certainly nothing she'd forgotten. Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through her photos from last year. There, pictures from Thanksgiving dinner. Her dad carving the turkey. Her mom's dining room table laden with food. Rebecca's kids making faces at the camera. Everyone looked normal, happy, alive. So, what was the message talking about? Maya tried to push it out of her mind. She had work to do. But that night, at 3:47 a.m. exactly, her phone rang again. This time, she was awake. She'd fallen asleep on the couch with her laptop open, reviewing a presentation for work. The sudden shrill ring made her jump so violently she knocked her laptop to the floor. Unknown number. Maya stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She should let it go to voicemail. She should block the number. She should do anything except answer. She answered. Hello. Static. Heavy. Oppressive static that seemed to press against her eardrums. And then, underneath it, voices. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Maybe. All whispering the same thing. Remember. 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 Who is this? Maya's voice came out as a croak. What do you want? The voices stopped. For a moment, there was only silence. Then a single voice came through, clearer than before, and Maya's blood turned to ice. Because she recognized it. It was her own voice. You forgot us, Maya. You promised you'd remember, and you forgot. Now we're coming home. The line went dead. Maya didn't sleep for the rest of the night. She sat on her couch, every light in the apartment blazing. Phone clutched in her hand. Shed tried calling the number back. It went to a recorded message. The number you have dialed is not in service. Shed Googled unknown caller Thanksgiving prank and found nothing useful. Shed even posted on Reddit, asking if anyone else had received similar calls. No responses yet. As dawn broke over Seattle, gray and drizzly as always, Maya made a decision. She needed to know what had happened last Thanksgiving. Really know, not just trust her flawed memory. She started with her sister. Rebecca, hey, it's Maya. I know it's early, but I need to ask you something. Her sister's voice was groggy, annoyed. Maya, it's 6 in the morning. What's wrong? Do you remember anything weird about last Thanksgiving? Anything unusual? Silence. Then, what are you talking about? It was fine. Normal. Are you sure? Nothing strange happened? Nobody said anything odd. Maya, seriously, what's going on? Maya hesitated. How could she explain the calls without sounding insane? I've been having weird dreams about last year. I wanted to make sure I wasn't forgetting something important. You're not forgetting anything. It was just dinner. Look, I have to get the kids ready for school. Can we talk later? Yeah, sure. Sorry. But Maya wasn't satisfied. She called her mother next. Sweetie, is everything okay? You sound stressed. Mom, I need you to tell me everything you remember about last Thanksgiving. Every detail. Her mother laughed, that nervous laugh she always did when she thought Maya was being dramatic. Why on earth? Please, Mom. It's important. A sigh. Well, let's see. We had turkey, of course. Your father insisted on deep frying it again, even though I told him it was dangerous. Rebecca and Gary came with the kids. You were there. Grandma Helen couldn't make it because she wasn't feeling well. We ate around 3 o'clock. You left around 7 because you said you had work the next day. That's it. That's Thanksgiving. Something in her mother's recitation nagged at Maya. Wait, Grandma couldn't make it. That's right. She had a cold or something. But Maya had a clear memory of her grandmother being there. She could see her in her mind's eye, sitting at the end of the table, smiling that gentle smile of hers. Are you absolutely sure Grandma wasn't there? Of course, I'm sure, Maya. I called her on video chat so she could see everyone. Don't you remember? Maya did remember. Suddenly, vividly, the video call, her grandmother's face on her mother's iPad, pixelated and distant. Not there in person, not at the table. So why did she have such a strong memory of her grandmother sitting at the table? Maya? Are you still there? Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Mom. I'll see you Thursday. Maya hung up and sat very still. Her memories were wrong. That shouldn't be possible. Memory was fallible, sure, but this was different. This was a complete fabrication. A person who hadn't been there, inserted into her recollection of the day. What else was wrong? What else had she forgotten? She spent the day going through everything she could find from last year. Social media posts, text messages, credit card statements. She was looking for gaps, inconsistencies, anything that didn't fit. And she found something. On her credit card statement from November 2024, there was a charge she didn't recognize. $347.82 to something called Harrow & Sons Funeral Services in a town called Millbrook, about 2 hours north of Seattle. Maya had never been to Millbrook. She didn't know anyone there, and she certainly hadn't paid for any funeral services. She called the number listed for Harrow & Sons. It rang 14 times before someone picked up. Harrow & Sons. The voice was old, crackling, barely audible. "Hi, I'm calling about a charge on my credit card from last November. I think there might be a mistake. Name, Maya Chen." A long pause. Then, "Oh, you." The way he said it made Maya's skin crawl. "What do you mean, oh, you? You were here." November 22nd, 2024. Day after Thanksgiving. I've never been to Millbrook in my life." "You were here," the old man insisted. "You came alone. You paid for the service, and then you left. You don't remember?" "No." What service? For who?" Another long pause. When the man spoke again, his voice was softer, almost pitying. "You really don't remember, do you? They said you wouldn't. They said you'd forget." "Who said? What are you talking about?" "The ones you left behind. Miss Chen." "The ones at the table." The line went dead. Maya called in sick to work. She packed an overnight bag, got in her car, and drove north. She had to know. Whatever had happened in Millbrook, whatever she'd forgotten, it was connected to the calls, to the voices, to that terrible message, "You forgot last year." The drive took 2.5 hours through increasingly rural Washington landscape. Millbrook, when she finally reached it, was barely a town, more like a cluster of buildings hunched together against the gray November sky. Population 847, according to the faded sign at the town limits. Harrow & Sons Funeral Services was easy to find. It was the largest building on Main Street, a Victorian structure that might have been elegant once but now just looked tired and sad. Maya parked and sat in her car for a long moment, staring at the building. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around and drive home. But she'd come this far. The funeral home's interior was dim and smelled of old flowers and furniture polish. A bell chimed softly when Maya opened the door. She stood in the entrance hall, surrounded by dark wood paneling and portraits of somber-faced people from another era. "Hello," she called. Footsteps, slow and shuffling. An old man emerged from a doorway, easily 80, bent with age, wearing a black suit that had probably been fashionable in 1975. "Miss Chen," he said. Not a question, a statement. "You're Mr. Harrow." "I am. You came back." "I came to find out what happened. You said I was here last year." Mr. Harrow studied her with rheumy eyes. "You were. November 22nd. You came in around noon. You were distressed. You said you needed to arrange a service. For who? You don't remember their names." Maya felt sick. "No." Mr. Harrow sighed and shuffled toward a filing cabinet. He pulled out a folder with agonizing slowness and handed it to Maya. She opened it. Inside was paperwork, a contract for funeral services. Her signature was at the bottom. She recognized her own handwriting, but the names listed as deceased made her blood run cold. Robert Chen, Linda Chen, Rebecca Morrison, Gary Morrison, Emma Morrison, age 7, Lily Morrison, age 4, Helen Chen. Her entire family, every person who'd been at Thanksgiving dinner, except her. "This isn't real," Maya whispered. These people are alive. I just talked to my mother this morning. My sister. This is a mistake. Is it? Mr. Harrow asked gently. Are you sure about that, Miss Chen? Of course, I'm sure. They're alive. Then where were they last Thanksgiving? Really, truly, where were they? Maya opened her mouth to answer, and found she couldn't. The memories were there, but they were wrong, contradictory. She remembered her family at the table, but she also remembered, what? Something else. Something terrible. You need to remember, Mr. Harrow said. Before tomorrow, before Thanksgiving. Because if you don't remember, if you don't acknowledge what happened, then you'll forget again. And the forgetting gets worse each time. What gets worse? What are you talking about? Mr. Harrow reached into the folder and pulled out a photograph. He handed it to Maya. It was a Thanksgiving table, laden with food, turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, all of it. And around the table sat her family, her parents, her sister, Gary, the kids, her grandmother. But they weren't eating, they weren't talking, they weren't moving. They were just sitting there, staring at the camera with empty eyes and frozen smiles. And there was something wrong with their skin. It looked waxy, artificial, like mannequins, like corpses posed at a table. Maya dropped the photograph. What is this? What the hell is this? Your memory, Miss Chen. The one you've been trying to forget. Maya sat in Mr. Harrow's office, shaking, as he told her the story. You came here last year, the day after Thanksgiving. You were in shock. You kept saying it was your fault, that you'd done something terrible. You said you needed to give them a proper burial, but there were no bodies. Just the house, just the table. Stop, Maya whispered. Please stop. You paid us to go to your parents' house in Bellevue. We found them exactly as you'd described, sitting at the Thanksgiving table. They'd been dead for approximately 18 hours. Carbon monoxide poisoning, the coroner determined. The furnace had a leak. The memory hit Maya like a physical blow. She'd been there. She'd been at the table with them. They'd been eating, talking, laughing. And then everyone had started getting sleepy. Headaches. Her father had joked about the wine being too strong. Rebecca had put her head down on the table, just for a moment. The kids had curled up on the couch. Maya had felt it too. The drowsiness, the confusion. But she'd been sitting nearest the window. She'd gotten up to get some air, opened the window, and she'd left. God help her, she'd left. She'd felt so dizzy, so sick, that she'd stumbled outside to her car. She was going to rest for just a minute. Just catch her breath. And then she'd fallen asleep in the car with the windows cracked. When she woke up, hours later, it was dark. And something had made her drive home instead of going back inside. Some instinct. Some terrible knowledge she couldn't quite grasp. She'd driven home and collapsed into bed. And in the morning, the memory was gone, replaced with a false one, a safe one. One where everyone lived and nothing terrible had happened. You found them the next day. Mr. Harrow continued quietly. You were the one who called 911. But by the time you came here, later that afternoon, you'd already started forgetting. Your mind was protecting you from the trauma. We see it sometimes, after terrible losses. The brain creates false memories to cope. But I talked to them, Maya said desperately. I talked to my mother this morning. My sister. They're alive. Are you sure about that? Maya pulled out her phone with trembling hands. She pulled up her recent calls. There, Mom. She'd called her mother this morning. She hit call. The phone rang once. Then a recorded message. We're sorry. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. She tried her sister's number. Same message. No. Maya whispered. No. 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 She opened her photos, scrawled to the pictures from this morning. Their shed taken a selfie with her coffee cup, planning to post it on Instagram. But in the photo, behind her reflection in the window, she could see her apartment, and standing in the shadows, barely visible, were figures, 7 of them, watching her. Maya screamed and dropped the phone. "They've been with you all year, Mr. Harrow said. "The dead don't forget, Miss Chen. Even when the living do. They've been waiting for you to remember, waiting for you to acknowledge what happened. And now it's Thanksgiving again, and they want their place at the table." "I'm going insane," Maya said. "This isn't real. This can't be real." "Go home," Mr. Harrow said gently. "Go home and look at your table. Really look. And then you'll remember everything." Maya drove back to Seattle in a daze. The world seemed unreal, shifting, like a dream on the verge of becoming a nightmare. She'd been living in a delusion for a year of talking to people who weren't there, calling phone numbers that didn't exist, making plans for a Thanksgiving dinner that would never happen. How had no one noticed? How had she gone to work, lived her life, interacted with the world, without anyone realizing she was insane? Or maybe they had noticed. Maybe that was why her coworkers had been giving her strange looks, why her friend Amy had stopped returning her texts, why the barista at her regular coffee shop had seemed nervous whenever Maya came in. She'd thought they were being weird. It never occurred to her that she was the weird one. Maya's apartment looked different when she opened the door. Darker, colder. She flipped on the lights, but they seemed dimmer than usual, casting long shadows that moved wrong. She walked to her dining room table. She'd set it this morning. Placemats and napkins. 7 place settings. 1 for each member of her family. But now, looking at it, really looking at it, she saw what had been there all along. The plates were dusty. The silverware was tarnished. The napkins were yellowed with age. And the placemats had names written on them in dried, brown letters that looked disturbingly like blood. Mom, Dad, Rebecca, Gary, Emma, Lily, Grandma, and at the head of the table, a single placard, Maya. "Oh God," she whispered. The temperature dropped. Her breath misted in front of her face. And they came. They emerged from the shadows, from the corners of the room, from places Maya hadn't even known existed in her small apartment. 7 figures, translucent and wrong, wearing the clothes that died in. Her mother, in her favorite Thanksgiving sweater. Her father, in the flannel shirt he always wore when he carved the turkey. Rebecca, Gary, the kids still in their nice dinner clothes, and her grandmother, looking so frail, so sad. They didn't speak. They just stood around the table, watching her. Maya backed away, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to leave you. I didn't know." Her mother's ghost opened its mouth, and that terrible layered voice came out, the same voice from the phone calls. "You forgot us, Maya. You forgot, and you kept living. You celebrated birthdays. You laughed. You moved on. While we stayed at that table, waiting, cold and alone and dead. I didn't forget," Maya sobbed. "My brain, I couldn't. You forgot," her father's ghost said. "And forgetting is the worst thing you can do to the dead." The ghosts moved closer. Their faces were no longer the faces she remembered. They were twisted, angry, full of betrayal and hurt. "We waited for you to remember," Rebecca's ghost hissed. "We waited for you to mourn us properly. But you threw Thanksgiving parties in your mind. You set our places at your table. You pretended we were still alive because it was easier than facing the truth." The smallest ghost, little Emma, only 7 when she died, spoke in a voice that broke Maya's heart. Why did you forget us, Aunt Maya? Didn't you love us? I did. I do. I then remember us, the ghosts said in unison. Sit at this table. Share this meal. Remember what happened. Remember how you survived while we died. Remember your guilt. Remember your grief. Remember us. Maya looked at the table, at the 7 empty chairs, at the dusty plates and tarnished forks, and she understood this was her penance. This was what they needed. Not her death. They didn't want that. They wanted her to remember, to carry the weight of what had happened, to stop hiding in delusions and face the terrible truth. She had survived. They had died. And she had tried to forget. Slowly, Maya pulled out the chair at the head of the table, the chair with her name on it. She sat down. The ghosts sat down too, taking their places, the places they'd been sitting when they died. I remember, Maya whispered. I remember, all of it. And she did. The memories came flooding back, real, terrible, unfiltered. The way her mother had slumped over her plate. The way her father's hand had gone slack around his wine glass. Rebecca's children, so small, so still. Her grandmother's final, confused look. And Maya, stumbling outside, dizzy and sick, leaving them all behind. She hadn't known. Shed thought she was just getting some air. Shed thought they'd all be fine. But they weren't fine. They were dead. And Shed spent a year trying to pretend otherwise. I'm sorry, Maya said, tears flowing freely now. I'm so sorry. The ghosts didn't respond. But slowly, gradually, they began to fade. Not disappearing, just becoming lighter, less angry, less hurt. Her grandmother's ghost reached out and touched Maya's hand. The touch was cold, but not unkind. Remember us, she whispered. Don't forget again. I want. Maya promised. Never again. One by one, the ghosts faded completely. The last thing Maya saw was her mother's ghost, smiling, not the terrible smile from before, but her real smile. The one Maya remembered from childhood. Then they were gone. Maya sat at the table until dawn. She didn't move. She didn't sleep. She just sat there, letting herself feel everything she'd been avoiding for a year. The grief, the guilt, the terrible, crushing weight of survival. When the sun finally rose, painting her apartment in cold gray light, Maya stood up. Her legs were stiff, her body aching. She looked at the table. The placemats with the names were gone. The dusty plates had disappeared. It was just a normal table again. But she could still see them. Not as ghosts, but as memories. Real memories, no longer hidden or distorted. Maya picked up her phone. She had messages, real messages this time, not delusions. From Amy, her friend, asking if she was okay. From her therapist, reminding her of their appointment. From her grief counselor, checking in. She'd been in therapy for months, apparently. She'd been trying to work through the trauma, but Shed kept dissociating, creating false memories, refusing to accept reality. Until now, Maya typed out a message to her therapist. I remember. I finally remember. Can we meet today? The response came quickly. Of course. I'm so glad, Maya. This is a big step. Maya set down her phone and walked to her window. Outside, Seattle was waking up. People heading to work, living their lives, moving forward. She could do that too. She could move forward. Not by forgetting, but by remembering. By carrying her family with her. Not as ghosts or delusions, but as memories. As love. As the permanent mark they'd left on her heart. I won't forget you again, she whispered to the empty apartment. I promise. And this time, the promise felt real. Thanksgiving Day arrived cold and gray. Maya didn't set her table this year. She didn't cook a turkey, or make her mother's stuffing recipe. She didn't pretend. Instead, she went to Millbrook, to the cemetery where her family was buried. 7 graves, side by side, under a large oak tree. She brought flowers. Real flowers, not the fake ones. She'd apparently been buying all year, without realizing they were for graves, not a dining room table. She sat in the grass and talked to them, told them about her year, about the therapy, about the slow, painful process of accepting that they were gone. "I'm getting better," she said. "Some days are harder than others, but I'm not forgetting anymore. I'm remembering, really remembering, the good times and the terrible end. All of it." The wind rustled through the oak tree's bare branches. "I'm going to live," Maya continued. "I'm going to laugh again and celebrate and move forward. Not because I don't miss you, but because I know that's what you'd want. Mom, you always said life was for the living. So I'm going to live. For both of us." She stayed until the sun began to set, talking to her family, crying, remembering. As she stood to leave, she noticed something on her grandmother's headstone. 7 stones, arranged in a circle, one for each family member. She hadn't placed them there. Maya smiled through her tears. "I know. I hear you. I remember. And I always will." She walked back to her car as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. Behind her, if she'd looked back, she might have seen 7 figures standing by the graves. Not angry anymore. Not trapped. Just watching her go with something like peace in their translucent faces. But Maya didn't look back. She'd learned that sometimes, remembering doesn't mean living in the past. Sometimes, it means finally being free to face the future. The ghosts watched her drive away. And then, at last, they faded into the gathering darkness, not forgotten, but released, remembered, loved, at peace. Thanks so much for sticking with me through that emotionally devastating journey. If you made it this far, you're incredibly brave, because that one hit different, didn't it? Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever experienced memory playing tricks on you after a traumatic event? Have you ever forgotten something your mind just couldn't handle? Share your stories below. And remember, there's no shame in grief, no shame in struggling to remember painful truths. If you're dealing with loss, please reach out to someone. Talk to a therapist. Talk to a friend. Don't let the forgetting consume you. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe for more deeply unsettling horror stories every week, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember the ones you love. Remember them truly. Because the worst thing we can do to the dead is forget they ever lived. Sweet dreams, everyone.